The Oppermans, from Koljander, deur Bosch, by Annatjie Melck. Dirk and Marie Opperman were our neighbours. I remember how Dirk watched us through the fence when we arrived at our Tybalt Street house with our minimal, modest furniture. Dirk lived differently from most other people. He would sleep by day and work at night. He would fulfill his university obligations in the mornings, then sleep through the afternoon until late at night, and only then would his work really begin. Many was the evening when he would visit us for a glass of red wine and a chat. These discussions would usually last until late at night and end with Dirk telling Ronnie how to make wine and Ronnie telling Dirk how to write poetry. Dirk became seriously ill at Frans Kraal in the late 1970s. He spent months in Tygerberg Hospital and was later transferred to the local hospital in Stellenbosch. Medical opinion was that not much more could be done for him, and that it made sense for him to spend his last days close to his family and friends in Stellenbosch. But Marie rejected that diagnosis. For some reason, Dirk was very fond of me. Marie summoned me and told me that no one other than herself and her daughters would be allowed to visit him in the hospital, but that she wanted me to visit him for 10 minutes every day and to talk to him, even if he showed no reaction. This was a daunting experience, for the person in that hospital bed was an apparition as yellow as gold. Nevertheless, I went day after day and spoke to him, mostly about the food I loved to cook. Food was one of our shared enthusiasms, and I remember once having to cook an Egyptian goose for him. What a nightmare that was! By way of illustration, Dirk enjoyed his periwinkles with noodles rather than with rice. After about 3 weeks, Marie asked me to please be at her house at 11 o'clock one morning. She was bringing Dirk home for a visit, and had told him that I was coming for tea. I thought that Marie was taking on too much, but the combi with Dirk inside stopped outside the front door at exactly 11 o'clock. The same apparition, still as yellow as gold, was now in a wheelchair. We prepared a small table in front of him, and the full ritual of morning tea with cake and all the trimmings ensued. Marie and I chatted about the neighbourhood, the people, and what was going on, while Dirk simply stared into emptiness. This ritual of morning tea was repeated again and again, and after a few weeks, Marie brought Dirk home to stay. Every morning I had to go to their house at a specific time, stand behind Dirk, and hold him firmly in an upright position. Then I had to use my legs to force his legs to walk forwards. In this manner we gradually got him walking again, slowly but surely, and later we used flashcards to get him reading again. Sometimes Ronnie would visit him in the late evenings for a chat. When Marie told me one day that Dirk had started writing again, I was convinced that she had lost the plot. At that time, I was the president of the Stellenbosch Connoisseurs Guild, and as a committee we had decided to publish a recipe book as our gift to the town on the occasion of Stellenbosch's 300th anniversary festival. We worked hard and received wonderful recipes from our members. The theme of the book revolved around the food that people ate during the 4 seasons of the year. Everything was ready, the material, the design, the illustrations, yet I still felt there was some elusive ingredient missing. A short while later, Ronnie and I went to Dirk and Marie for a glass of wine on a Saturday afternoon. While we were chatting, I asked Dirk to write 4 poems for me about the seasons of the year, the senses, and the food that we eat. Early the next day, Sunday morning, Dirk phoned me to say that he had written the poems and that he wanted to read them to me. I asked Ronnie to please accompany me, as I was afraid that the poems might be nonsense and that I wouldn't know what to do if this were the case. Dirk told me that I could use the poems for the book being produced for the Guild, but said that he had written them for me. What he read out thrilled me in my innermost being. It was the most moving poetry I had ever heard. Dirk's health went on improving, and he said that he'd been so trapped in his yellow jaundice and the poison in his body that he couldn't escape until the day I asked him to write about our senses in relation to the 4 seasons. These poems provided him with a springboard for other great works before he died.